Hi. So in this video, I'm going to cover the introduction to context-free grammar, right? So in the previous classes, I have discussed about PDA, how to draw the PDA for a given context-free language. So here I have example of language of palindrome. So this is actually WWR is even length palindrome. So here you can see the example OTTO. This is even length palindrome. This is even length palindrome, and this is the language A to the power n, B to the power n. Similarly, I have example of WCWR. This is basically your odd length palindrome. Okay, and here are some example. Madam, I am Madam. 11011, and this is the language 0 to the power n, 1 0 to the power n. So this is context-free language. Okay, so what are the characteristic of language of palindrome? So if you see the language of palindrome or the string of palindrome, so you can observe that first and last symbol of the string is same. Okay, first and the last symbol of the string is same. Similarly, if you delete this number, first and the last symbol, so what you will get? You will get 101. Okay, that means still your resulting string is palindrome. Okay, similarly, if you see this first and last symbol is matching to each other, and if you delete this and this, so resulting string 11 will also be palindrome. Okay, so here you can see some recursiveness. Okay, so that recursiveness is nothing but a context-free definition or context-free grammar. Okay, so here if you delete this one with one, if you delete this one with one, you will get 0. So 0 is your basic, and before and after the 0, the string will be in a sequence of palindrome. Okay, so that means I can here refer my basic condition is epsilon 0 and 1 for the recursiveness. Okay, so if you write some function on recursiveness, so you should write something, some basic condition on which your recursive function should stop. Okay, so base condition and the recursive function. So recursive function here will be 0 to 0 W0. If your string is starting with 0, so it should end with 0. Okay, so that is actually rule of the palindrome. And similarly, if your string is starting with 1, so it should end with 1. So then only you can say your string is palindrome. Okay, so here are some basic conditions. So if you get these things, so you can stop your recursive definition, and still if you want to generate more string, more symbols, so you can generate with the help of these recursive definitions 0W0 and 1W1. Okay, so basically CFG is nothing but a formal notation of expressing a recursive definition of languages. So if you have any recursive function, so you can always convert that recursive function into the context-free grammar. Okay, so basically your context-free grammar is consist of one or more variables, constants, and rows. Okay, so if you see the previous example, so here are my constant were epsilon, 0, and 1. Okay, and my variable was W. Okay, 0 and 1 was a constant, and W was variable. Okay, so here you can see some variables, some constant, and some rules. Okay, so how can I write the rules? So basically I am considering this as starting symbol. Okay, so for the basic, S implies epsilon. So what is the meaning of this? So this is the starting symbol, so I can replace the starting symbol with the epsilon. Okay, so here I am writing the rows. Okay, similarly my basic can be 0, my basic can be 1, and then I can replace my S with 0 as 0. If your string is starting with 0, it should end with 0, and this is the name of the function, let's say S, and which is going to be change every time. Okay, similarly for 1s1, if your string is starting with 1, and it should end with 1. So these are the roles, and this is the this capital S is actually your variable, and 0 and 1 are constant. Okay, so let's come to the definitions of grammar. So grammar is basically consist of 4 components, or you can say tuples. So actually your DFA is consist of 5 tuple, PDA is consist of 7 tuples, and grammar is consist of 4 tuples. Context free grammar is consist of 4 tuples. VTPS. V is referred for finite set of variables. You can also call it as non-terminals. Okay. And T is referring for finite set of symbols T. Okay. And it is called as terminals. P is for productions. So that actually represent the recursive definitions. Okay. So basically every production is consist of 3 rules. So first you have a production symbol. Okay, in the previous case I have seen S implies 0, S implies 1, S implies epsilon, S implies 0 as 0, and S implies 1 as 1. Okay, so this was the implies symbol, or you can say production symbol. Okay, so before this production symbol, you will have something in the left hand side, and then you will have something in the right hand side. So basically whatever be on the left hand side of this production symbol, so you can call it as head. Okay, and right thing and the things which will present on the right hand side of this production symbol, so you can call it as body, or so basically in case of context free grammar, so you should always have only one variable on the left hand side of this production symbol, and on the right hand side you can have 0 or more terminals or non-terminals. Okay, so this is the things about the productions. And S is here, S is referring for the starting symbol. Okay, so your grammar definition will start from this symbol S. Okay, so if you see the previous example, so in the case of in the previous example, your starting symbol were S. Okay, starting symbol were S. Your production there were 5 production. S implies epsilon, S implies 0, S implies 0, S0, and 1 S1. So you have 5 production in case of your grammar for language of palindrome. So and your terminal says 0, 1, and terminal is nothing but a constant things. Okay, so this is a set, constant is a set, and this is a set, production is also a set, and this is also a set. So in the language of palindrome, so you only have one variable, and so I am writing it within the curly braces. So this is also a set, and here you can see the definitions of the non-terminal. So you should here have the finite set of variables, and here also you should have finite set. Here also you should have finite set. That means your grammar will always be finite. Okay, so with the help of finite grammar, you can always generate the finite as well as infinite number of languages. Okay, fine. So now let's come to the type of grammar. So I already told about many things about this diagram. So basically your regular language will be accepted by finite automata. Context free language will be accepted by PDA. Context sensitive language will be accepted by linear bounded automata, LBA. And your recursive and recursively enumerable language will be accepted by Turing machine. So I will talk about Turing machine in the later videos. Okay, in the later class. Okay, so basically on the basis of language, I can divide this grammar into 4 category: type 0, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Okay, so here I only wanted to talk about the context free grammar. So context free grammar is actually type 2 grammar. Okay, so I have also told you about, told in class that if your grammar is simpler, that means your language will always be complex. If your language is complex, your grammar will be simpler. So that's why your regular language is the simplest language. So that's why we studied this regular language first. Okay. Okay, fine. Similarly, your recursive and recursively enumerable language are tough language or complex language, but their grammar is very easy. So they called it as type 0 grammar. Okay. So I can then characterize this context-free grammar into 2 more category. So right linear grammar and the left linear grammar. Okay, so let's understand this with the help of examples. So suppose that if you have a symbol S, variable S, and you're having a production, let's say AA, and you are writing for A, let's say B or C. Okay, so the meaning of this is actually A implies B or A implies C. So in place of A, you can either use B and you can also use C. Okay, so if you see here the the body part of this production rule. So this is actually rule number 1 and this is actually rule number 2. Okay, so if you see the body part of this production number 1, so you can see that there is only one variable, and that variable is at the leftmost position in the body. Okay, similar what will happen if you see the rule number 2. So in the rule number 2, or this is the rule number 3, okay, corresponding to this, so I can write it as A implies C. So let me remove it from here, so you can write like this. Okay, so here there is no variable in the body, there is no variable in the body. So if you have a variable on the body side, and there should only be single variable, and that variable should present at the left hand side of the body, leftmost position of the body. So then you can call it as left linear grammar. Okay, and if your variable, there is only single variable in the productions, all the productions, and that production and that and actually that variables is at the rightmost position, then you can call it as the mm, right linear grammar. Okay, so let's move further. So here I'm going to uh, teach you the derivation using grammar. So basically you have many ways by which you can drive the various string through the grammar. So one is recursive inferences. So what you will do in this case, so rules, it is a rules from body to head. So basically in our course, I will show you the rules from head to body, but you can also go in the backward direction. Okay, so you can go from bottom to top. Okay, so this is actually top to bottom, and this is actually bottom to top way. So I will tell you more about with the help of some one example. So here I am here there is a one example. So this is the example of expression grammar. E implies E plus E, E implies E star E, E implies ID. So suppose that I have an input ID star ID plus ID. Okay. So here you wanted to write the recursive inference for this input. Okay. So this is the input. So what is the recursive inference? So you should apply the rules from body to head. Okay. So your body in this case is ID plus ID star ID star ID plus ID. Okay. So from the rules, you can see that this ID can be replaced with E. Okay. Because you are going in the backward direction. So you can replace your ID with the D. So let me replace this ID with E. Okay. Similarly, I am replacing this ID with E. Okay. And then I am replacing this ID with E. Okay, then next, what can I do? I can replace this E star E, this E star E with E. Okay, so I am replacing this E star E with E, and I am writing the rest of the string as it is. Okay, so now this string E plus E can be replaced with this E. Okay, so now your starting symbol has come. Okay, so you are moving from body to head. Okay, so whenever you encounter your starting symbol, then you can stop the recursive inference. So this is actually recursive inference. You are moving from input to the starting symbol. Okay, so now in case of if you apply the rules from head to body, what you will do, you will start from the starting symbol, and you will replace your starting symbol with the production rules. Okay, So basically for head to tail, I have two derivations. So I have two derivation, and one is leftmost derivation and another is rightmost derivation. So let's first talk about the leftmost derivation. Okay. So I wanted to generate this string id star id plus id. Okay. So what can I do? I can start from the starting symbol, that is e. So I can write e plus e. Okay. E plus e. So in case of leftmost derivation, what we can do, we can actually replace the leftmost symbol from the body in case of leftmost derivations. Okay. So this is the variable. This is also a variable, but leftmost variable is this one. Okay. So you will first replace this e with the help of which production, this production. So because your plus has been generated from e plus e, now you wanted to generate this star. Okay, so you can replace this e with e star e to generate this star. Okay, now you have three different variable e. Okay, but your leftmost symbol is this one. Leftmost variable is this one. So you can replace this e with this production rules. E implies id, so you can replace this e with the id, and rest of the string will remain same. Now your variable is e and this one, this e and this e. So now you can replace this e with the help of what? id, this rule. Okay, so you can replace this v with id. In the next step you can replace this id. Fine. Okay. Similarly, if you wanted to write the rightmost derivation RMD, so what you can write first? So you can write E implies E star E. Fine. So in case of rightmost derivation, so what you can do, you will replace your rightmost variable first. Okay. So if you replace this rightmost variable, so you will replace this rightmost variable with E plus E to generate plus, because your star has been generated. Okay. Similarly, in the next step, you will replace this e because this is the rightmost variable. Okay. So you will replace this v with this rule, and you will get id here. Similarly, now my rightmost variable this one, so you can write it as id, and then again you can write it as id. So you will get the input string from the starting symbol. Okay, so this is called as the derivation using grammar. So basically I have two mode of derivation: leftmost derivation and rightmost derivation. Okay, and one is recursive inferences in which we move from body to head. Fine. So let's see another form which actually gives the representation for these two derivations. So basically you will always start from starting variable. Okay, and then suppose that if your grammar is G, let's say VTPS, which is your context free grammar, so you can always write S implies star alpha. So this alpha is actually your input string, and this is the starting symbol, and implies star means you are taking more than one move. If you write if you write simply the arrow sign, so this means only one move, and if you write this one, so that means you are taking many moves. Okay, you are taking many moves in this case. Fine. So so based upon this leftmost derivation, so if you take the leftmost, LM is used for leftmost derivation. So if you take moves based on leftmost derivation, so you can call it as the left sentential form. So in the previous case, when I was driving the leftmost derivations, so then you can call it as the left sentential form, and the rightmost derivation can be called it as right sentential form. So this is just a representations. Okay, so you should know about this. So what is the sentential form? It is nothing but a leftmost and rightmost representation. So this is actually you are taking more than one move, and you are just writing the you are just mapping the starting symbol and the final input. Okay, so this star means many moves, and you are taking the leftmost derivation, and here in this case you are taking the you are applying the rightmost derivation. So if you apply the rightmost derivation, then you will call it as right sentential. And if you apply the leftmost derivation, then you can call it as left sentential.